Welcome back to the Watch, and welcome back to the Crusade Night's Watch live stream. Now, confirm in chat that we are live. I think we are live. Good to see everyone here, and we're going to have some fun topics today. Now, as always, I am joined by Lit Devil and Mike S. Miller. How are you, gentlemen?
Aloha.
I'm doing fantastic.
Awesome, awesome. But guess what, guys? We have a very special guest joining us in this live stream as well. The man, the myth, the legend, the Metatron. How are you, mate?
Hello, number ones.
It is good to see you,
here.
mate. Thanks for joining us. This is probably going to surprise some of the people. I announced on Twitter that you are joining us.
My pleasure.
And I'll put it in the description a bit later on. But in case people don't know, Metatron and I, we go way back. We've been mates for years now. Gosh.
Yes.
Now, back when we were up and coming YouTubers. Do you remember back there? I remember, making the videos, and then I come across the Metatron videos. Like, I like this guy. And I wrote a comment under your video, and then you replied and you wrote a comment under mine. And then we've just been friendly back and forth.
Yeah, this is from when we had like less than 1,000 subs. Is that old? Yeah.
Wow. It's going back. And then we've just been friends back and forth. We've done collaborations. We've done videos in response, talking about stuff, and just stayed in contact the whole time. And look where we are now.
Here we are.
But dude, your channel's doing great. Your videos are phenomenal. And in case people don't know, so Metatron covers a lot of historical subjects, okay?
Yeah.
And so there's weapon-related subjects, stuff like that. But you've also been covering what of particular interest more recently is how history is getting adapted in the modern day. Now, fair enough. You've been doing that for your whole channel. And saying, if a movie comes out, how historically accurate is it? We'll review it and stuff. Unfortunately, in the more recent times, history has been getting bastardized. And oftentimes for not very upstanding reasons, even political reasons and agendas and stuff. And Metatron has been making videos here is the history. And they've been absolutely phenomenal. Like they've been really
I very appreciate that. Thank you so much. And it's been about 2.5 years now that I'm backed by a team of professionals, so they can peer review my work, which really, really helps. And that's probably thanks to them that I think the overall quality of the information presented has been getting better.
Oh, dude, it's been phenomenal, especially when you have people like challenge, some of your historical statements, stuff like that. And you come back like a hammer with all this research and the people, who's doing a lot, like also the research with you. Oh, it's just been phenomenal.
Appreciate it.
And one of the things that Metatron has been covering really actively, and I've been mentioning, if you're wanting to, get the full information on this subject, go watch Metatron's videos, is the whole Yasuke, Black Samurai, Assassin's Creed type stuff. And you've been doing some pretty detailed videos on that as well. And
yes. Sorry.
So no. I didn't mean to cut you off because the ultimate takeaway, and you're here, so you can fill in the details and elaborate more, is that we don't really know.
We don't.
It seems like if you gun to your head, what would you say? No, I don't think it was a samurai.
I mean, gun to my head, I would say that I lean towards the idea that he wasn't, simply because it is it's very rare for people to become samurai who weren't native Japanese. And since we don't know, there are some pointers that point towards the idea that he might have been, like the stipend or the fact that he's specifically named as a kosho, which is a type of page, squire. And oftentimes they were samurai, but not all the time. So, and the same thing with stipends. We know Chinese engineers. This is something that even other people have mentioned. Some Chinese engineers receiving stipend, but they weren't samurai. And then again, but oftentimes samurai did receive stipends. So there are some pointers that point towards the idea that maybe, but it is so rare. And since these are not definitive, that if I had to I would normally say, I don't know, maybe. Probably not would be my answer if I at gunpoint, as you say.
I'd make my point from. Sorry, you can read that,
please.
Says Rachel Zegler is lame. We'll be talking about Rachel Zegler.
Yeah,
True.
we'll talk about that.
Definitely not
I
the
made the
first
point
one.
last week, Metatron, that samurai, they were their particular class. They were nobility. They were hereditary, and if he wanted to, if his daimyo wanted to name him as a samurai, it would be more like an honorary title than it would be.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. That is
Actual
one thing that
samurai.
they you actually brought a very good point, Mike, because even if he was given the title, even if we find new evidence, we should always be ready to accept, by the way. If new evidence arrives and says, yes, he was given the title, great, it still doesn't mean that he should fight as a samurai.
All right.
So the way the game represented him, and he literally looks like, not only fights like a Japanese, but he fights like a modern Japanese, specifically of the Yaido style, Yaido Seite. So it looks very choreographic, the way he puts the sword back. It looks like after the Edo, like kind of Edo period, after Sengoku. There is no reason to believe that he would have fought like a Japanese, even if he was given the title. You don't magically become a Japanese.
Suddenly you have 20 years of training.
Exactly. Yeah. So he was big guy, big guy, probably strong, naturally strong. That's a massive advantage.
Yeah, from
Well,
what I
he's
read, it
cool,
was
yeah.
like his daimyo liked him so because he like wrestled against like a bunch of guys like at the same time and beat him because he was like probably a foot and a half taller than everybody else.
A panel. There is not difficult to be taller than the Japanese of the 16th century. But...
Hey, wait a minute.
How tall are you, Mike?
This is my logo.
Hang on, Mike. All right, Mike. You put it on the floor. All right, you're going to get it on the height. How tall are you? All right, lay it out.
I'm 5'7", but I'm half American. Honestly, when I went to Japan, it was the first time I ever got to look over the crowd. So
not only that, but 16th century Japan, you would still be taller than the majority of the population because nourishment is different. And since I believe you live in Japan, right?
No, I did. I mean,
you used to live.
I've been to Japan multiple times.
Okay, then one thing you must have noticed that there is a massive difference in average height between the young generation and the elderly people.
Oh yeah, dude. One of my nephews or one of my cousins he's probably 6'1", 6'2".
Yeah,
and
nutrition. That's nutrition, right?
I mean, the only my mom, when she was a kid in Japan, the only access to red meat they had was whale meat, right? And that wasn't as common as anything else. So it's the introduction of beef and other high protein staples there.
Yeah. The diet is different, and absolutely.
Well, the whole idea about becoming a samurai is like that idea is where I got my conclusion from the movie The Last Samurai. That the Last Samurai title is not referring to Olgren; it's referring to Katsumoto, because you don't just you don't get a sword and armor and become a samurai. And he was there as an observer. His job was not to save people. His job was not to be a samurai. His job was to carry the memories of the honor of the actual legitimate samurai that he did see. He carried the stories with him. That was the important part of that movie. He wasn't himself the last samurai.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You how he lived. I love that movie.
Hey, Ryan Bannon for 5 Canadians says, Metatron, are you going to tell me that Cleopatra wasn't black? Pshaw.
Yeah, I know. It's Metatron versus Grandma. Who's going to win?
Yeah, all right. That was wild. And someone was unironically, citing their grandma as a historical source.
Grandma.
My grandma said that was hilarious. But I do like the fact that the Egypt did sue them and won. I think they won.
Oh, did they win? I know they sued them. I didn't know.
I heard they won. I may have been rumor, but I do know they sued them, which is hilarious in and of itself. I didn't know it again with Yasuke. The Japanese politicians are going
involved,
demanding apologies.
I mean, I really respect that. I that's one of the things I truly admire about Japanese culture is how protective they are of their history and their culture, and they want it represented right, as you should. And so the kickback that the Japanese people have had against this whole controversy, and also what we saw out of Egypt as well with the Cleopatra stuff. Yeah, that's brilliant. It's like, good, that's what it should be. And I lament a bit because we rarely see that for medieval history. Now, it has been getting bastardized again and again. They made Anne Boleyn black, one of the most white historical people you could have.
Not to give myself, sort of giving me publicity, but I am making a video about Emperor Septimus Severus, who is often called the African Emperor. And then that became the Black African Emperor. Now, he was African in the sense that he was born in Africa. Well, Roma, Africa Proconsularis, so the actual
like Elon Musk.
section of, pretty much, yeah. But he was, I don't want to kind of spoil it too much, but I'm making a video dedicated to the idea of what ethnicity would he be? And that is not necessarily, I mean, some people sometimes tell me, why are you obsessed? I'm not the obsessed one. I'm the one who is responding to the obsessed ones. But the reality is, how distant is it to ask the question, is that the right shield? Is that the right sword? For the context, to asking, is that what this person would have looked like? It's the same note.
I know,
and stuff.
Like Metatron, you and I have been losing our crap at inaccuracies like that for years, right? Yeah. And they think like our objection to history being misrepresented in terms of the ethnic representation of history as well, like it's not any different to us. We want it just represented accurately. And I would object just as much if they turned a black character white, like from 100%. History or something like that.
100%.
And it's bonkers that they're trying to pretend that, oh, why do you have such an issue with it? And what's interesting is oftentimes they take the tone of, it doesn't matter that we're changing, this historical figures, right? It's not a big deal. If you object, then it's a big deal. Then they're suddenly, they show how much of it a big deal it is to them, right?
Mental manipulation.
It's almost like it's bait.
Yeah, it is actually. Good point. It is bait. Very good point.
So all right. Well, bait for what would you say, Mike? Just to
publicity.
Get publicity.
It's the only way these guys get publicity for their movies anymore. I don't think anybody watches commercial TV anymore. So
I don't know. See, I don't think that works out for them in the end. Like, do you think Ubisoft has been happy about the publicity they've been getting with Assassin's Creed?
That one went out of hand.
It's a disaster for them.
That's a little out of hand. Yeah.
And like another good example is that Velma TV show adaptation that HBO did of Scooby-Doo, okay? Where some people are claiming that they purposely made it so bad to trigger everyone, to cause a public backlash, right? To then supposedly get more views. But the show is dead.
Right, but it would have been twice as dead.
Would it have been? See, I don't know. I'm not sure because the thing
did you hear about it in any place else other than people complaining about it?
No, but the thing is, all the people complaining about it just convinced me that I would never watch it.
Right, but
it could have been good. It could have had structure.
I think they're trying to kill the old adage that there's no such thing as bad publicity.
Well, because I don't think that's true anymore. Because we've seen with social media that the publicity can be so bad that it kills things. Yeah, no worries, right?
No, I just had to get something because, it's the same thing in history. And to me, it annoys me the most when it's history. And as you say, if they take a black historical character and they turn him white, I always tell the people that tell me, accuse me of stuff. I tell them, give me a video, give me a Netflix series that it's been manipulated by the alt-right, and I will debunk it. I'll do it.
Absolutely.
I'll do it. If they're taking it, it's just that, so far I had to go and find these things myself, and it's not easy to find them these days. Yeah, in the 50s, I suppose, but today it's difficult to find. But the thing when it comes to this, the idea of, diversity, and this is what we're talking about. You want to see diversity. This is diversity. This is diversity, but it's not political. There is a fighter. There is a fighter from every ethnicity, every skin color. They all look cool. White people look cool. Black people look cool. Mexicans look cool. Asians look cool. Everyone looks great. No, where were all the racists? Why wasn't anyone complaining?
Because in Street Fighter, it's a game about going all over the world with tournaments all over the world. So diversity in that game is organic. Like, it wouldn't be just white people everywhere. It's organic diversity, which is what we always loved for decades, over 100 years, I think, even. Ricky Ricardo was played by an actual Cuban. He actually did he had a lot of influence over the industry. He actually invented a few techniques, in fact, but he was a major player as well.
And this is the thing, right? Diversity is a non-issue. It's a nothing. It's not a positive, right? When I see a film that's based in historical Japan, I expect them to be majority Japanese historical people.
Homogenous.
Right? Exactly. I'm not after diversity. And the same with Chinese cinema, Middle Eastern, all the stuff. And guess what? If it's medieval history, what am I expecting as well? Okay. And the fact that something, even if it's in the modern day, okay, and people say it should be diverse because it's in the modern day, is like, what country is it based in? Okay. What's the general makeup of the country? This shouldn't be a shocking thing if that country, if the film or media production or whatever has a majority representation of the majority ethnicity of the country. This is not shocking stuff. And then when they force it, right, where they actually misrepresent cultures, countries, histories, even modern day, as well as actually preventing people who are qualified for the job and shoe-ins for the role and stuff like that, that's when we start to see some really big problems. And that's what we're seeing today. We're seeing...
By the way, speaking of medieval history, did anyone watch The Green Knight?
Okay. No,
not yet. It was like...
I love the commercials. I wanted to see it.
I've been so disappointed by so many modern medieval ones. What was that one recently? I think it might have just been called Medieval Metatron. Did you see trailers for that? It was they even had some of the war wagons in it, I heard.
Yes, it's okay. Yeah, it's like a strategy game. The one that Jason Kingsley spoke about.
Oh no, this is a film actually.
Oh, it's a film. Then I haven't seen it.
Yeah,
no.
Okay, but people are asking, only a couple of people asking me to give my thoughts on it, but I'm just like, I've been so burnt out. It wasn't also like big enough to really attract my attention, so I just haven't really bothered, because so many of them has just been big letdowns. The only one that actually was a pleasant surprise recently in terms of being somewhat more historically accurate was the Outlaw King. Did you watch?
Yeah, I did.
I like that one. Pretty cool.
That was good. That was.
I enjoyed that story. I like the fact that we got to see pieces of William Wallace. Didn't realize. Like, whoa, they showed William Wallace. They showed it after he got quartered. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, they had swearing by swans. They had rushes on the floor in certain buildings. They had a code of plates and surprisingly accurate ways of overtaking castles through espionage stuff. There was surprisingly amount of stuff.
I like how they played out the assassination at the church. I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, that was actually a historical event, I believe.
Yeah, that was a historical event, but I'm not really sure. I think the exact circumstances of what exactly happened aren't exactly nailed down. Mm-hmm. So the way they played it out in that movie, I thought, that's pretty good. It kind of keeps him. It's intriguing, and it keeps him as the hero in our eyes. That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Did you see that one, Mike?
Did he lock up, or was that me?
Yeah, I don't know. I was asking you if you saw it. Yeah.
No, I didn't. I just looked at it. I was like, how did I miss this?
It's on Netflix, right? And then,
yeah, I'll check it out.
Right, not long after it, another movie came out called The King, and that was just crap.
Is that the one with the guy from Dune?
Yeah,
and it ends with this pathetic modern cultural insert of the Prince S talking down the king that has just conquered her nation, right? And it's just like, no way
like
in
that
the
movie
world.
a little bit. I liked it for special reasons. The reason why I like that movie a little bit because it had Falstaff in it. Like, oh, okay, all right. They're kind of using like the Shakespearean play a little bit. Okay, well,
I saw that one. I don't remember hating it.
It's I like the fight. I like the fight with between the prince and the opposing prince. Like they had a dirty fight.
Oh yeah,
armor and knife
in armor.
That's pretty brutal. I like that. Yeah. Sometimes I just watch that fight. I don't watch the whole movie. I just watch that fight.
There were some things that were okay in it, but that ending really ruined it for me. It's just like, what are they thinking? Why did they do it?
Well, that part was pretty cringe. It came at the very end, but it was pretty cringe. So there is an actor in there I do like, the guy who tricked him into fighting everybody, which is the old man who's I kind of like that guy because he was in Green Knight, and I really like Green Knight.
I gotta see. He plays what's Green Knight on now? I gotta see that. I
think it's on Hulu. Netflix.
Is it? Should be Hulu if it's green.
They did the Green Knight story from the Arthurian legends, but they made it like psychological horror. It got me. I got hooked.
Nice.
I loved it. So,
but what's your guys' favorite Arthur movie? King Arthur movie.
Old school stuff.
That's a big question because it all depends on what you're feeling. I do like does it have to have King Arthur in it, or is it a movie?
It's gonna be based around the legend.
Yeah, but like one of his knights, or like one of. the story of King Arthur?
There is the old Lancelot. There is the old one, the one where they had like
answer it however you like.
Which version? There's so many versions and alterations.
Don't make me do the homework. I just asked the question.
Well, you must have one you like most then if you're asking.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I like Arthur, the one, the less like legendary version, because that's kind of how I wanted to do that story based off of the Roman Artur. And
the one with the Clive Owen
movie came out. I'm like, well, that's what I wanted to do. So
I hate that one.
The one with Clive Owen. I love the one with Clive Owen. It wasn't King Arthur.
Yeah, that was Arthur.
I know. It was technically Arthur, but it wasn't King Arthur. It was.
But no, because that was based on like the tiny scraps of historical evidence.
Okay. Beowulf's Revenge has the true. This is the only correct answer right there. Beowulf's Revenge.
Fair enough.
Beowulf.
Yep.
That's accurate. That is accurate. I withdraw my.
My entry. Like, is there a story where King Arthur fights Beowulf? I want to see that. That sounds awesome.
The Richard Gere movie
I read
Knights. Was it?
Oh, okay. So everyone knows the story of Beowulf, right?
Knight's Tale.
Yeah, loosely. Yeah.
Well, one of my favorite authors. I haven't read much of him, but the few things I have read were amazing. But he made a follow-up story called Grendel, which is like the story done through the eyes of Grendel, like what he went through, what he was thinking, like he wanted to like be part of them, and then oh yeah, he's a monster, and they wouldn't accept. It's pretty good. I recommend Grendel. It's a pretty good like a side-by-side piece with the story of Beowulf. It's pretty good stuff. I like it. I like Beowulf a lot. I even enjoyed the Neil Gaiman like movie version, which is everyone doesn't like, but I've watched the movie and I've read the book. I like them both.
So I love the 13th Warrior, which is loosely
yes, yes, absolutely, yeah.
13th Warrior,
Was
amazing.
that based on King Arthur?
No, Beowulf.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, Beowulf.
Yeah, it was Beowulf because they fight the monsters.
Wait a minute.
Also, people have memed it into like, oh yeah, this is what happens when you have like a bunch of D&D players and then one guy comes late. He just comes in late.
That's pretty good. Isn't it the one where he learns the language, like just listening? He picks
that was funny. That was a funny.
That was kind of crazy. Yeah, but apart from that, it was interesting.
But it's like the part like the warrior, like the king dies and the king's like in his throne, but he's dead. Oh, that was cool.
Too long ago.
I just remember. To be fair to that sort of thing happening, I remember my daughter. We thought she wasn't. I don't know. She like didn't speak for like a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like normally your kid's like small and they start blurting out words. Like she didn't practically say anything at all. And then one day she just started speaking in full sentences. And we're like, what the? You've just been holding back this entire time.
Training
for a child, yes, for sure.
So it's possible Antonio Banderas did the same thing.
Yeah. I wanted to
all right.
The guy. I just wanted to acknowledge the guy. I'm just checking. I just saw someone mentioning me on a super chat. I just wanted to say hi. I don't know who was it.
By the way, to this similar concept, I'm going to promo my show tonight. We're doing on Drawn and Quartered. We're taking Snow White and the Seven Dwarves, and we're going to make a story, and we're going to do drawings of it at the same time. Snow White and the Seven Warriors.
Oh,
so we're going to make something up. We used to do this a long time ago, where we just make up stories and while we're like doing a 2-hour show. And
Leo Shorgan, thank you. Hi. Appreciate.
Well, now that you've brought up the topic, Mike, Snow White and the Seven Dwarves. So, gentlemen, did you see the trailer?
Yep.
Yes, absolutely. I've seen it like 5-10 times. It's almost. I found it almost genius. It's almost there.
It's almost there.
Because Doomcock also picked up on this. If you watch the trailer, it's instantly boom horror. It feels like a horror movie. I was like, if they had made this a horror movie version of Snow White, like the big twist where it's a horror movie, that would have been genius. Like she's like this slasher, like Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger. They made it turn Snow White into this like vengeance spirit or something, and she kills all the dwarves. That'd be pretty cool. I would actually go watch that. But that's what the trailer makes it feel like. But obviously, it's not a horror movie, so it's not genius. It just almost was.
Like the Winnie the
So-
Pooh horror movie. That's what we're going for.
Not that bad.
So what about
I
the
saw
dwarves? Because I didn't see the dwarves. What did they do with the dwarves? 'Cause
Oh,
initially
no.
there was
Dwarves are these like
a-
these monstrous,
Find the
like,
clip,
uncanny
Chad.
valley
Find the
entities.
Okay, so first, let Devil Mike. Do you want to try and find that original, the behind the scenes photos where the dwarves?
Oh no, I
look
remember
like-
that one.
You know
Yeah, I
that one?
remember that one.
Okay,
Yeah, but
so-
that's why I was asking. There was only one dwarf, and I'm like, where are the dwarves? Like, I don't even care about all the rest. It's like the dwarves. I want the dwarves.
Yeah. All right.
Want me to
So
find it,
let
Chad?
me see.
You probably had
I
better
got the
Dwarves, and they have
trailer,
the
but-
7 thieves.
So I got the trailer, but it's weird when you host StreamYards, when you try and share something, it does something different, and it's not giving me a clear
Right.
thing as to which screen I'm able to show right now.
All right,
And
let
so
me
it's
see.
not that one. So not now. Try and share this
And
one.
you got to be careful about sharing Disney.
In the meantime, if I can address, there is a super chat on your end, Zach Muffin,
yeah.
and he said something interesting. If I can address it very quickly, because I don't know if you want to read it since it's your show.
Well, Zach, you're getting right on the line of edgy with how you're ending off that super chat there.
Yeah, we don't like that, so maybe let's skip that part. But I do want to mention
Yeah.
something about like diversity in the medieval European context, because it depends on the country. So, like, if we are in a port town or we are in a city like Paris, where there is a famous university, then yes, you will see more diversity than you would like in the middle of Czech Republic, where Kingdom of Bohemia, in a little rural town. But then again, sometimes it's not the kind of diversity that people think. Like, for example, when you have in Paris, if you have a French, a German, an Italian, that's diverse already. You have people from all sorts of different areas in Europe. But as I was saying, when it comes to Port Town or even Spain, depending on the period, then you would see different ethnicities as well. Kind of depends on the setting.
All right. So
here
we have the trailer. So have you seen this trailer, Metatron?
Yes, I think I did, if it's the same. Is it the latest?
This is the most recent one. And so I don't think we need to watch the whole thing.
Sure.
But there are some things that just give you kind of cringe vibes. The first thing for me, right? Just say, look at this opening scene. Why does this just look fake?
It looks like it's like a screensaver.
Yeah, like
the colors are nice though. I like the color palette.
But that could be like
painting.
Have they pushed the saturation too high or
maybe.
something like where it just doesn't look right? We got a super chat from Zach Zwiller. 30th Warrior was based on Michael Crichton's The Book Eaters of the Dead. All right. I did not know that. Thank you.
I know Crichton gets around. That guy's work is everywhere.
Dude, Luca, 14-month member. Thanks, man. You're a legend. So yeah, maybe it's like, I don't know, it looks like it's a set too much or something. But anyway, then there's this weird color grading that's throughout it all that just makes it look like it's a bit 3D.
Oh, but those are dwarves, though.
Yeah, here are the dwarves.
Dwarves.
This
movie should have been like a 3D animation. I don't know why they did like live action 3D.
There was a controversy about the dwarves where at first, like, they were going to go, I just hire, little people, right? And Peter Dinklage came out saying, who is, a little person who, famous from Game of Thrones, basically saying, oh, this is, problematic or whatever, typecasting and dwarves in Snow White.
He said like a Snow White, the story of Snow White and Seven Dwarves is like racist and like demeaning to little people because it's all about them being animals. Like, what the hell? What story did you see?
Yeah, right.
Like, how many roles are there for little people in Hollywood? You jerk.
Well, that's the backlash.
That is exactly.
So many people with dwarvism and stuff like that who are trying to be in the industry got really upset about this because, like, hey, these are some of the best roles for us in a high budget film.
It's Peter Dinklage's own personal like modus operandi. He has never gone after roles that required you to be a dwarf, right? He's always like, I want to be an actor. It doesn't matter what my size are. But I mean, he's gotten those roles just because it doesn't want to. But
he has, because
Tyrion
he played a
Lannister
role.
blew him up for being that. But that's like his thing. It's like the role I play shouldn't be about being a dwarf. It should just be a good role and blah blah blah. And it's like, now I want all dwarves in Hollywood to agree with me.
What do you mean? In Game of Thrones, we have one of the best characters ever.
Yeah.
Right. The actor has that situation, but then again, the Seven Dwarves. I mean,
right. And he's a bit of a hypocrite then, because he hasn't taken on roles that are specifically defined by the character needing to be short. Of course, there's Game of Thrones, but he was also in Elf. I'm not sure if you saw Elf, where he appears, and there's a whole joke of the elf thinking like the little person is an elf because it's little. And so Dinklage has done that stuff, and all these other people who have dwarfism just felt like is an absolute scumbag. Basically pulling up the ladder behind him. He was able to get roles as a little person, and then is saying it's problematic that there are roles like that even in Hollywood. And so Disney, because Disney is a cowardly piece of crap of a company, right? They're just so desperate to be politically correct in every way. They're just overrun by activists at the moment. Decided, all right, we won't do any dwarves. There was backlash for that. Some of the photos came out that they might be just like magical creatures or bandits or something like that. And there was a behind the scenes photo, and these could have just been extra stand-ins. There's a speculation if these were really the dwarves.
Placeholders.
But it looked cringe as hell. And so Disney, then doing damage control, decided, well, all right, we'll put in the original dwarves from the animation, and we see them in this trailer. And now but the thing is, these are animated dwarves.
Oh, I see.
If you haven't seen this, like, wait for it.
I haven't seen this actually. I haven't. I saw a previous one.
Yeah, so this is the dwarves here.
Yeah.
Do you see them? And they look horrible. Yeah. Like they're wearing rubbery masks. Horrible. Do you see these guys?
Yeah.
Like oh yeah. Now,
and they look like garden gnomes.
Yeah, like, gosh, they do not look right. And I wonder if they actually did get little people to stand in to do the mocap or something like that. But it's nowhere near as a big role as a live action role where they get to have their personage on camera playing the character.
I agree.
So this,
I'm not expecting D&D dwarves. Of course, they're gonna look different. I'm not expecting
that would be cool though. I want friggin'. I want Gimli to be saving
Gimli.
Snow White.
Yeah. Lord of the Rings, that
would be wicked.
Well, then I think at that point she could just like go back to the queen and like kill her immediately.
Yeah, we have a super chat from Xavier. Save your heart. G'day, lads. I'm making a shield brooch with 2 sword cross behind it. It's going to be awesome. Deus Vault, Hail King Baldwin. There we go. Thank you, man. Xavier. Regular super chatter. Appreciate you, man. Ryan Bannon, did they get little people to voice the dwarves? I hope so. Else I'm not going to see this. Just kidding. I was never going to see this piece of S.
I doubt it. I'll watch it, to be honest. Yeah.
I doubt it as well.
Just honestly, if unless you've watched this with like your daughter or something, have any of you watched Snow White?
What, the original animation?
Yes. As a child,
animation?
Yes.
Yeah. The original animation, hell yeah, it's a classic.
Really?
Yeah.
Even as a kid, I never had any interest in watching Snow White.
Lots of times.
Okay.
Really?
Well, here's the thing, Mike. I'm a very cultured individual, right? And I like to, watch like media that has a prominent impact on our history and our heritage, as well as if it's just good. And so I got Pride and Prejudice. Absolutely, I've watched multiple of the adaptations. Yeah. Pride and Prejudice is great. I've also not only have I watched all of the Twilight films, I've read all the books.
My wife would be proud.
This is just when you're a cultured individual, you need to understand. Twilight's an interesting case study because I was more interested as to why it was so popular. So it was a bit of an academic, got to and I actually do enjoy parts of it.
Because
I'm not saying it's good.
it was about a 200-year-old man who wanted to sleep with a teenager.
No, it was a man who would protect his family at all costs. His family and the one
And
that he loved.
also, it was about a 200-year-old man who wanted to sleep with a teenager.
He didn't want it. He wanted to eat her.
In more ways than one.
All right, so the dwarves look horrible. And the movie, like... looks Christian. Now this is the other part.
She looks great though.
So,
like,
yeah,
right out of the
freaking
cartoon, right?
Why is there a movie again? How come? Why is like...
That's Lit Devs. You want to expound a little bit on this?
Like why? Like she goes like mirror on the wall. Who's the fairest of them all? And it's supposed to be like it's just really about beauty. Like the idea is about beauty. Although I heard the argument made that no, it's actually about being the qualities of being a ruler. Although I'm not really sure that's true either. I think it's really supposed to be about beauty, and then it's supposed to be her. It's always been the queen. And all of a sudden, one day, actually, it's Snow White now, and it's like and then the story begins. It's like the inciting incident is the queen isn't the fairest in the land anymore. It's now this one bitch named Snow White, and who had the audacity.
well,
to be way better.
I think this little meme encapsulates it quite well.
You in the end. If this movie were to stay true to the legend, it would be 3-panel comic. Yeah,
it is a very charming looking woman. We'll give it that.
That's the thing. Is like Gal Gadot might not have been the best person to cast as the evil queen. Is jealous.
She also has a lot of charisma and charm. Rachel Zegler has none of that stuff. She's like ugly on the inside, really bad.
Honestly, I couldn't think of a young actress who's better looking than an old Gal Gadot.
Well, on the note of Rachel Zegler, right? She is most definitely a very charming individual, isn't she? Right here, all right, and good. Mate Benny, Benny Johnson. This is what he had to say about Snow White. And
Sydney Sweeney. No way is Sydney Sweeney hotter than freaking Gal Gadot. Give me a break. She just got
wow, look at that.
So meet your Snow White. Hates Walt Disney, hates Snow White origin story, hates men, hates capitalism, hates family values, hates paying customer, unfriendly militant feminist, toxic social media past, hyper political, polarizing narcissist.
What does she actually like? Are there any good qualities? Does she have any?
She loves, and I mean loves beyond reason herself. She really, really loves herself. In actual fact,
and she's brown.
This is what she posted on her Instagram. The fairest, by the way. She posts that. This is just so everyone knows and remembers. She wants to let everyone know that she is so hot, according to her. Right. According to her, she's and still the fairest. By the way, does she not understand how narcissistic that makes her look?
She has like strong Daniel Pineda like energy.
It's actually a little nuts, right? That she is so consistently just really like a jerk and an arrogant person online. She like there are clips that go back with this individual Metatron.
She's like every person.
Oh my gosh, she's actually a pretty loathsome person, and I have so little. I'm gonna cover it out of due diligence as a reviewer on Night's Watch, right? But I'm not gonna take my family, my kids to see this Disney slop, especially with such a awful person that clearly hates me and hates so many of the audience.
Yeah.
Okay, doesn't deserve my money, doesn't deserve your money. The thing is, though, right, the stuff that Betty Johnson shared is actually rather interesting because she is when I say political, she is quite political.
Is she?
And it's starting to bite her in the rear end because there's a bit of a current conflict that's happening between the two main actors on the film. So, gentlemen, any of you aware of Gal Gadot's? Which country? Which country?
Her service? You mean?
I forgot all about that. Actually, but yeah.
Which country does she come from, gentlemen?
Gal Gadot, I heard, favors Israel.
She comes. Did she even?
She's been known to favor Israel, considering she's served in his military.
She served in the military.
IDF.
Yeah. Right. So she is pretty securely in the support of Israel. So Rachel Zegler, this is what she felt inclined to post recently. And this is such backhanded like bull crap where she's like, I love you all so much. Thank you all for your love. 120 million views on our trailer. This is all vapid insincerity. Like genuinely, where this trailer is not wherever coming out. Previously, you've seen her flipping off people, right? That's her actual attitude. But then she tries to say, I love you all and everything like that, when she basically is completely narcissistic and hates most of the audience. And so that comes off really, fake anyway. But then see this second post. Let me,
love you though.
Yeah.
And remember, Free Palestine.
Always remember.
Really, either way,
stunning and brave. Thank you.
Hey, look, we see John De La Rosa right there, stunning and brave. Thank you, Rachel.
She got even more likes for that one. She got 61,000 likes for that one.
She put her pronouns in her actual name, not in her bio.
Gotta have the pronouns up in front.
Hang on. She thinks she's fairest of them all, but she is so unsure that you can't figure out that she is a woman by looking at her. She feels it's a necessity to tell you that she's a woman. Is she that insecure about her womanly appearance that she needs to tell people?
It's kind of strange because, I imagine the kind of war they're going to have if two people who have completely opposite political ideas are in the same set, as far as I'm understanding. I mean, personally, what a person believes in their own private politics, and even publicly, I don't particularly care when I look at the product. Like, for example, there was a lot of backlash against the producers behind Kingdom Come Deliverance because he's a conservative. And I am like, I don't care. He could have been like the most liberal person in the world. I would have still bought the game. I don't particularly care unless they put the politics in the game, which they didn't. Okay, so that to me, I don't particularly care if someone is left, right, center, apolitical, margin, pro-margin superiority. I don't care. What I really care is the product. And when it comes to the pronouns, I'm like, live and let live is the way I look at it. I mean, as long as you don't force me on usually I'll
don't force it on others.
Don't force it. But when it comes to I would do it out of politeness, particularly for those who people that have gone through the whole transitioning thing. If they look like it, well,
that's the interesting thing.
If you need to ask a question, maybe put it in your bio.
No, I wouldn't ask the question. That's what I'm saying. If it looks like a woman, I'll say she. I don't.
If you earned it, okay. If you would,
you have to fool me.
No, but because I'm more. I think you're not you mean it. If you go through all of that, at least because otherwise, how do I know? It's one of the situations. Yeah. So I don't particularly care about that, but yeah, it's I imagine what's going to happen behind the scenes right there.
All right. So what you're saying is a good point that I want to elaborate a bit more on as well, about the separating the art from the artist. This is kind of something that I think not only myself, but nearly all of us has been doing for a long time. I don't care if someone from the left makes something or the right or anything like that. I'm not going to overly support something just because it's made by someone who politically aligns with me. The thing is, though, it's if they are actively trying to propagandize the work that they're making. I was like, hang on. And I'm not saying you can't put in messages in your own media and stuff like that, but I always believe in the thing that should be most celebrated in terms of any message that you put in media should be universal morality, things that we could all agree on. That shouldn't be controversial. But if you're going to start to put in, right.
It's supposed to.
But if you're going to put in really divisive ideological stuff in media that's targeted for children, okay, we have an issue then. There are certain things that it's a parent's role to teach to their children, not for Disney to inject it and force it in front of their face. And I have a big issue especially with Disney doing that in children's media, and not only Netflix does it, and heaps of stuff. And then my other side, like, even if they're making essentially good media, right? If the person actively hates me, okay, separate to political affiliation, right?
Yeah.
But if they actually hate me as an individual, who I am, for unreasonable reasons, like my political or religious beliefs or anything like that, I'm not going to support them. I'm not going to support people who hate me.
Makes sense.
I have the same policy about people who block me on Twitter. I'm just saying, you blocked me, I'm not buying your stuff.
Well, that was pretty simple, right? But there's like media that's been made, I'm sure, by people who do not agree with me politically, that I've loved and supported. The D&D movie, I thought, was actually surprisingly good.
Bloody hell, dude.
Oh yeah, the new one, yeah, absolutely.
The credits of any movie, there's like 4 million people on there. It's like, I guarantee you half of them are going to agree with you and half of them are, or
if it's made in
balance one way or the other. You're going to be hurting people that agree with you if you know.
Yeah. Well, that's that as well. But if it's made in Hollywood, the main, like, very likely that the main people in charge of the production are pretty on the left-leaning side, especially Disney, because,
or at least saying they are, so they don't get fired.
Hiring practices, well, there's that as well. But like House of the Dragon, loved. Arcane was absolutely brilliant.
Right? We haven't even talked about House of the Dragon, Shad.
Dude,
if you share my screen, that Star Wars girl made a little clip from that compared the original to the new one.
Oh, yeah.
19 seconds. And there's something peculiar about this at the end. I want to get your guys' opinion.
Now you wash the dishes.
Now you wash the dishes.
You tidy up the room.
You tidy up the room.
You clean the fireplace.
You clean those cobwebs.
And I'll use the broom.
And he'll use the broom.
Now you wash the
Snow White and the Seventh Slave.
You wash the dishes.
So
I'll say it's very the new Snow White is very modern day. The girl does no work. She just breaks into the house, demands everyone work for her.
Tells everyone else to work for her.
You take the broom.
Yeah.
Bow down.
Seven slaves.
Look, I don't always like. There's been things that I've heavily disagreed with Matt Walsh on, especially with his like takes on anime and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But he shared this, which is okay. Like, is there maybe there's a point to what he's saying here, where he says, the original Snow White, she cleans for the dwarves to show her appreciation. In the new one, she breaks into their house and forces them to clean for her. Making a feminist version of a character always means turning her into a nagging, ungrateful hag.
That's exactly what happened, apparently, according to that. Also, in the original, it wasn't her commanding the dwarves; it was her commanding the animals, which she can do because that's one of the passive abilities you get as a Disney princess. You just command animals.
Yes, yeah. But then she also takes the broom herself, whereas in the new one, she gives the broom to someone else. And look, like, I just really get the vibe and feeling that on set, you know, or even in the writing room for this scene, someone was saying, isn't it problematic that the woman is cleaning the house?
Yeah, that's probably. You know what's interesting though is that I don't understand why. Like, for instance, it's possible. This is a fairy tale, obviously, but it is possible that it was based on a real historical character from the Holy Roman Empire. It is possible. The daughter of, I think it was Count Philip IV. Don't quote me because I would have to review it. I haven't read it in a while. But I'm talking about Margareta von Waldeck, I think it was. It's possible the Snow White is based on her, not 100%. But still, if they wanted to show a strong woman, there are plenty of women like that in history. For example, they could have chosen an African Kandake, the warrior queen of the kingdom of Kush. We are talking about a warrior queen in a matrilineal society that faced off the Romans in combat. So, like, this is not a history that people usually study. So it's an opportunity to show a woman who is black, African, not even African American. We're talking African, and that was at least, of course, the Romans end up winning, obviously. But I mean, she wrote a letter. She wrote a letter to Emperor Augustus, and he replied. And you know how the Romans are with other people. I mean, they weren't racist in the modern sense, but they did hate everyone equally. we could say. So maybe
they thought they were the best, and
masters of the world. Maybe the Greeks are all right, but everyone else, Nordic or Africans, are below them. That's how most Romans, at least Italian Romans in position and power, thought. And yet he wrote back to the queen. I mean, imagine, instead of taking Cleopatra, who's Greek, why don't you take the Kandake? Why don't you do a Disney princess loosely based on the Kandake? They could have absolutely done that. Instead, they take, Little Mermaid, the Danish story from Andersen, and then did you hear about the skin color of the Little Mermaid in the original book? Did you ever
very pale, wasn't it?
White. She's described as white.
Yeah.
Some people said green. And I had to look it up because I remembered blue eyes, but I'm like, green skin? And no, you know me. I read the book. I looked into it, and no, it says white. Well, the author Anderson says lovely white skin. That's how he describes it. But that's when he describes hands and arms, and after transformation, legs and feet. So that's how he's. And every single time he says white. And it's interesting because I'm like, why are you taking this character and you don't create a new princess? Since they already have them anyways, Jasmine is Middle Eastern, obviously. Yeah. No one ever complained about it. The Chinese one, you have Mulan, you have the Polynesian. Like, there are plenty of princesses. Creole. Diverse.
Well, who's the Creole one from?
So here's the thing. Moana is actually a really good film. No one complained.
Yeah, for sure. No one complained.
No one complained. But they want to try and claim racist when people just point out, hang on, you're changing the ethnicity of a character for clearly political or agenda reasons.
And there is no need to.
There's no need.
And let me tell you one thing. I'm sorry if I'm speaking too much, but I do want to say one more thing. It's insulting to people of color. And let me tell you why. Because when you take Snow White or you take Little Mermaid and you take mythology that is European, German, Danish, whatever you want, and you say, oh, we're going to take this and we're going to swap the character to put black representation, you are basically telling me that mythology from Africa is not worth it. Because you have to take the European one. So I take offense to that.
Yeah, personally. Absolutely. Well,
skin color becomes a commodity instead of something you respect. Instead of a culture you respect, a people you respect, it becomes it's just a coat of paint. That's it. It's just numbers.
We got this one too. Nobody complained about this.
No one complained.
Zero people complained about
I actually like her a lot because her whole thing is about working really hard and working for her dreams. I actually liked her.
That's why they don't like it.
I thought she was pretty base. Like, oh, that's a pretty cool princess. Like, I'm going to work hard for my dreams, and I'm going to do everything I can to achieve those dreams. Pretty awesome.
So, I think one of the things that they just don't have confidence in is making something new. They're so desperate that they have to build off of the previous fan base or previous properties. But guess what? The previous ones, they're not diverse enough. So we've got to change it then. And it is disappointing, especially for someone who loves medieval history, medieval culture, and also just my own cultural heritage, right? I look back on my ancestors and I'm in awe of what they achieved in terms of the great accomplishments and stuff. And I want that respected. I want the culture respected. And it's really odd. It's like people try and claim that's problematic if you want, they call it white history, when I was like, no, that's actually really dumb because there are so many different cultures and peoples that you lump into this box of white, right? And if you go back in the medieval period, right, there's a lot of people that had issues with other white people, but based on culture and where they came from, and they never considered themselves into this one homogenous group. But you're right, like the Hans Christian Andersen tales and Snow White. Is that Brothers Grimm? Is that from Brothers Grimm?
Gosh, I don't remember
it was before that, but the Brothers Grimm came in and they took a bunch of.
Found it.
Well, of course.
Kind of redid it and stuff like that. But I think she's in there. I think so.
Yeah, because some of the original fairy tales get dark.
Oh yeah, including Andersen, Andersen's.
Yeah, the original Little Mermaid tales is very sad.
Gory.
Snow White in particular. No, that's sorry. Sometimes I get Snow White and Sleeping Beauty mixed up because they both fall asleep and need to be woken up with a kiss. Because Sleeping Beauty has some. I haven't confirmed it. This is just like in comments that I've heard people say about something very not good happening to her when she was asleep.
I think there's a couple of versions of it. That was like a later version, I think, where she goes to bed, wakes up with children.
Yeah.
But there's there's a follow up to that where it's like there's a bunch of shenanigans that happen in different Sleeping Beauty scenarios. But I heard that was like a one done by an angry feminist. But there was a version like that. It's not universal, but there is a version like that. Yeah.
Well, it's good you don't give that version to kids. To be honest, you have to adapt it.
Don't give that version to kids. There's also a follow-up story, which is kind of interesting. Some say they combine two stories together to make the follow-up story, but it's like she has to raise the kids, but there's like an evil mother-in-law, and she tries to cook her, and it gets insane.
But this is the thing. This is why I actually really appreciate classic Disney. Classic Disney were just trying to make wholesome, good family entertainment with actual genuinely upheld traditional values, right? Sleeping Beauty, the classic Disney tale, I don't think that's a girl's movie. That's a boy's movie. It's got a prince getting a magic sword and slaying a freaking dragon in it. That's bloody awesome. That's
Maleficent's like all the powers of hell. It was great. All the powers of hell.
It's great. Like the Princess Aurora isn't the main character in it. Prince Philip, is it Philip? I think it's Philip. I guess
it's Philip.
Philip. Prince Philip is the MVP. He's the main character of that movie.
Yeah, those old Disney movies. Those old Disney movies allowed the prince to do masculine things. Like even in the Little Mermaid, it was Eric. It was Eric who slew the sea witch.
Oh, that's what pissed me off so much in that live action.
Now it's Little Mermaid. She kills.
She has to save herself because it's problematic for a man to save a woman. Except in the real world, when women are in trouble, they're really gonna want a brave man to come and help them, right? And that's what the classic tales instilled. That's why they were so good for both boys and girls. They were classic themes, and in a lot of it, it was trying to instill, in boys that. Boys, it's your job and responsibility to protect those weaker than you when you grow up to be men. That is absolutely phenomenal. That's great. And that's what was in there. And I find it so vile and disgusting that modern media is actually trying to take that out, trying to destroy it. Like that's a horrible thing.
Men can't do anything anymore. They just sit there and they give the girl money and a house. But the girl is everything. Right? She has to do everything. Or she gets to do all the cool things, right? He's basically just the girl now. He does everything else.
Right, man. I remember,
well, when it comes to giving money, at the end of the day, if you have a trad wife, she economically is dependent on you, so that's okay. I mean, that's fine. It's part of the tradition, really.
Yeah, it's a fair. The traditional marriage is an actual fair exchange based on. Well, a lot of it is actually biology. Like if you want to raise a family. The wife is going to be taken out of being able to be very active and physical for a period of time, and then after, she's the only one that can nurse the babies as well. And so, men also being more physically, capable and strong, right, is like going out and doing the hard labor. It just made sense. Men do it, all right. And of course, when you leave the home, you're the one who is now going to be engaging in trade and negotiations, conflict resolution, and all those things. And men have natural traits, just even by size and depth of voice, which causes people to listen. It has a more intimidative effect. It's exerting authority, right? Both men and women, especially children, by the way, respond to a deep voice. So someone who can convey authority. And so in terms of having success in those realms, it made sense for men to gravitate towards the positions of leadership. And guess what? It was women wanting men to be in that role as well, because men could succeed in it really well and they got benefit from it. And so it's not crazy that, the natural gender roles evolved in society. But now it's problematic all of a sudden. And people who are trying to subvert it, well,
mostly because you have to. I think the problem there is also the idea of vilifying the positions of traditional marriage and traditional family. Once again, I'm very live and let live. If you want to be a woman and go into business, absolutely more freedom to you. You can do whatever you want. I think the problem is when it's the vilification of the idea of, okay, but I like a traditional family and I like saying it. There's nothing wrong with it. Just like you have the freedom to live your life however you want, which is, free country. At the same time, it's not good that then my values are attacked. That's the way I see it.
I do have a concern.
They've done it since like the 90s, maybe even the late 80s. And it kind of started with making the father the buffoon in the family.
You're right. There are signs
of modern day. I don't think you could probably find a show where the dad is the hero in the story.
Well, there's a couple
this is just sort of a train of thought. When I was a kid, kids had hero fantasies. They had fantasies of being the hero, of like saving the girl, like I like this girl in 5th grade, and it's like I'd have these hero fantasies about saving her from some school shooter or some crap like that. Even though before school shooters, it was just this thing that was ingrained to us because we were watching all of this, and call it programming if you want, but it was good that kids should have this ideal of what it is to be the one who sacrifices yourself for the other. Right, that is the highest ideal of man, the highest ideal of religion. It's greater love has no man than that, or has no man than this.
You raise a really interesting point there, Mike, about is it programming or not? Okay. And this is kind of also what I was having as an additional thought with what Metatron was saying, was where I agree with live and let live. People should have freedom to pursue what they want to be happiness. But then I do wonder about what is the right thing to promote to people that will give them greatest chances of happiness. And I worry that the modern day movements, especially modern day feminists, are feeding women and men a lie about what truly brings happiness. Because in terms of the whole programming thing, natural gender roles, I feel do get promoted and encouraged by parents and other things like that. But I also feel the reason for that is because of the natural biological reality of this is how things have evolved. When people are given freedom to choose what they want, right? What will, result in the greatest happiness for them, and people are not coerced in anything, we have found that they usually, when I say usually, like to a larger degree, fall into traditional roles when given the freedom to do so, because those are the paths that they choose that naturally gravitate towards more happiness. And because we observe that when given freedom without any, probably trying to impose anything on, just by the natural strengths that both genders have, that they naturally fall into these roles, we observe that makes people more happy, more on average. And because I want to give my children the highest chance of happiness, guess what I'm going to teach them?
Well, of course, for you as a parent, it's your right. I mean, it's your right to choose if you want to have a conservative, traditional family and way of bringing up your kids, and that's absolutely your right. Consequently, on the same level, if it's a family and they're very liberal and that's how they want to bring their kids up, I wouldn't create a theocracy to force them not to do it. As long as people don't break laws. But for sure, in your reality, that's what you believe, that's what made you happy, and therefore you want to, kind of give that happiness to your children, and that's your right.
Yeah.
Well, that sort of falls back onto the whole programming idea, though. Because the left doesn't procreate as much as the right, and create little conservatives or create little liberals. They're the ones that are pushing the programming in schools, in education, in freaking government, in media, to push that agenda that women don't need no man, baby don't need no dad, all that kind of stuff. It's like, bro,
because that's when we come into what are the general trends or standards that are being promoted in media at large? Because I do agree, parents have a right to teach their children as long as it's within the bounds of the law, of course, right?
Exactly.
Right. But when it comes to media outside the family, stuff like that, I genuinely worry that a lot of the modern agendas are doing a disservice to boys and girls, and general happiness for women has been on a steady decline for several years now. And especially, there are some women, right, women that are taught that, they don't need no man and they're just as strong as a man. And then they are getting into violent confrontations in the real world. They think they're all the girl boss power, and then they get severely injured because the reality isn't like that. Right?
Well, the truth has a way to assert itself. If you don't believe in
Yeah,
basic biology, you don't believe in basic biology. I mean, we're talking sexual dimorphism when there are no weapons involved. Because if you remember the situation with Andrew Clavin that you covered.
I covered that.
Recently.
Yeah.
So with weapons, when weapons enter the equation, then it's different. But when
Force
it's like hand to
multipliers.
hand, absolutely. But when it's hand to hand combat, my money's on the guy. It's just how it is. Average. There is you can find exceptions, of course, but you shouldn't. That's biology.
And so, that's what I mean about, like, I think the world benefits, and it's needed that boys are taught to grow up to protect women. I think it's not only wholesome, I think it's an important value to be taught, and that women should be taught that they should be able to rely on good men to help them out when they're in trouble. Okay. These are really, I think it's important. And when I see it subverted in media, I get worried. I think that's a massive disservice. And I think women are being fed a lie that ultimately hurts them in the long run and doesn't make them happy. And so I think it's good to encourage the standard that leads most people towards happiness. And then if people want to choose and do whatever they like, completely up to them. As
adults, as adults, you can choose whatever you want.
Yeah, exactly.
So James Winterbottom has an important chat there. If you want to.
I'm actually way back in the chat because I want to catch some of those super chats. So I haven't seen there recently.
Please.
Yeah, but let's quickly catch up. So Michael Dunane says, "Hey guys, maybe not on the menu, but I see the Mortal Kombat cabinet. Thoughts on
it's behind me.
Adapting our games to live action, and which are your favorites? I like Mortal Kombat, and surprisingly,
I've got two cabinets.
Yeah, Metatron's he's a gamer, man.
Oh yeah, I'm a hardcore gamer.
I don't really want anything adapted into live action these days because they've been ruining so many.
Hypothetically, it had people of competence took it over, and actually made the movie.
Yeah,
but reality is a little bit different.
Cheers, Zach.
Yeah, Zach Buffett says was going to say nice refugees. Okay, Zach. That we'll see if that redeems you. What you're saying was borderline, but we can continue. I might have lost track of.
I forgot what it.
Yeah, I forgot too. I just remembered.
You just remembered.
We'll ignore it. We'll ignore it.
Yeah.
I knew exactly. What it was.
Yeah. So, Madrid. Ramstein Son music video is the best Snow White adaptation.
It's pretty cool.
I've not seen it.
Oh yeah, you didn't do the intro, Shad.
Well, I did get hit for the copyright and I got.
Oh really?
So I was like,
no! Seriously?
It is what it is. I played Sabotage last night. Love it.
YouTube isn't really like all that much fun,
Yeah. Zach Zilla for $5 says, on one hand, I want to see them make historical black characters. On the other, they'll just mess it up like the Woman King. I didn't cover much of the Woman King. Did you cover any of that, Metatron?
I did cover it. It's probably a video that I have to revisit, though, because I presented some ideas on that video of mine, and I think it's still a solid video, but there are some sections that one of the people in my team, who is from Africa, by the way, he presented some counter arguments, and I'm like, maybe I was wrong there. So I will, because that's what I do when people show me evidence and it's like maybe that was wrong. Then I might have to readdress it soon. And I actually asked him, hey, why don't we do it? So that's one of the things. Like another video like that I did a few years ago was about the runic alphabet, but I did say something wrong and I privated that video, and I'm considering on making a review. So I have covered the Woman King, but perhaps not one of my best works.
Alrighty. Well,
just be honest about it.
No. I know that. I know it as well. That's the same. It's exactly the same. Like if you give me evidence, I'll simply correct myself. Okay. Raul Ramirez says, guys, these are commies who want to replace the old entertainment that has good lessons and replace it with morals that they think are correct. There's actually, in my opinion, I think there's more truth to that than people realize. So, yeah, it's very odd how a lot of the underlining philosophies of equity and diversity and all that stuff has very similar basic core philosophy with Marxism and communism. It's a bit crazy, actually.
Yeah, there is. It's also a matter of, I think, extreme touch. So when you see like fascism, communism, Nazism, and all of that, at the end of the day, they're very different when it comes to some core elements. But then it's the horseshoe effect. When they reach authoritarian totalitarianism, particularly 20th century style, you'll see a lot of because it doesn't, it doesn't matter if it's Rome and you say something bad against Mussolini, you're not going home to your wife. If you do that in front of the Kremlin and you say about Stalin, you're not going home to your wife. And it's the same with Adolf, the Austrian painter, like they say.
Yeah, so, and you're right. Like authoritarianism, is
what it is.
It's connected. So Alexander Cross says, off topic, but Chad, have you ever heard of the band Glory Hammer and the prog metal telling the story about the albums? It goes from epic fantasy space opera, post-apocalyptic over 4 albums. Cool. I've not heard of it. Okay, might have to give it a go. Thank you for the $10, sir. Okay, Michael Aduno says, what about a racially homogenous place like Japan who wants to do live action adaptation of Snow White? They aren't casting Caucasian actors. Here's the thing.
If it's theater.
But no, I actually don't care. Like if it is in their country and the majority of that country, right, is of a certain ethnicity, and of course they're going to cast the main actors and their main production. Like even if they want to adapt a whole, like it's now based in Asia and they make it anime or something like that, I think that doesn't that just make sense because it's being made in the country and it's serving the people of that ethnicity?
Or Africa at this point, we want to be fair.
If Japan did their own Snow White, they would make it like a Japanese Snow White.
Yeah, here's the thing. Do you know there is like a I don't know how this came up. I think it was back in the day when I had cable and just random movies came up, but a random adaptation of The Wizard of Oz came up that was completely African American, all black. Everything was
Yeah, I remember that.
What was that? You remember that? I can't. Yeah. And I was like, sure. I don't really like. Some of my issues if it's one of the main adaptations, like say Wheel of Time, you're expecting it to adapt the source material. But if something is in public domain that's been adapted again and again, and people want to make something that is just, a reinterpretation, is it called The Wiz?
The Wiz, yeah. I remember that, 1978.
With Michael Jackson, he was in there.
Was he? So, like I said, I don't actually have too much of an issue. My issue is if it's direct adaptation as the first one, and especially if it's based in a traditional Little Mermaid, right? The biggest one is the Disney one, and so it would be good to see it adapted accurately. But if it's
I think one way to look at this as well is, once again, AAA massive studio is one thing. When you go all the way down to, for example, LARPing or even like cosplay, then I don't care. If a lot of white guys cosplay as Japanese samurai, so of course I don't have a problem if a black person or if a black kid they're having fun and they want to cosplay as a character who's a different ethnicity. That's different. It's not a massive studio. I have no problems with that. 100%.
That's funny. Kind of correlating to The Wiz, where they just replaced everybody. It was just an all black cast. The one thing about what was that play, the musical, where they recast all of the founding fathers
Hamilton.
It was ChatGPT. ChatGPT.
No, Hamilton. The only thing that irritated me about them doing that's like, if you want to do that, like the whole all people of color cast, go ahead. But they purposefully made the King of England white. He was like the only
villain.
Satan as a white, blonde-haired, blue-eyed white guy.
That reminds me of the. You see the Mufasa trailer for the new movie Mufasa? Yeah. Somehow, even when it's lions, the bad guys are still white. Like bad guys are albino lions.
You're right. It's the inconsistency that arises that starts to tick me off, and I can't help. And this is like, you don't mean to notice these things, but I can't help. In so many movies, nearly all the evil people are always generally white, and it's like, it feels like it's intentional at this point. Well, in Halo, all the bad guys, they're always usually white.
Chad, I hate to break this to you. It's intentional.
Yeah, that's what. All right.
They've been telling us like they've
Even
been doing
Rings
this
of Power, they made the orcs very, very pale. Whereas in the classic, Lord of the Rings movies, they were just orcs, and then they even gave them pointy hat wear at times.
Well,
and I'm
that's because Tolkien is racist, Shad.
Yeah, honestly, I
Tolkien's
think
racist legacy here.
I actually think that I have never thought in my life to associate an orc with someone from. So if you associate that, the problem is in your head.
Exactly.
Because I've never associated it. For me, an orc is a monster. I prefer them green. Lord of the Rings is different, whatever. But I have never made that association before I read that was the racist association.
I know, and it shows
who makes
shows who the real racists are with them.
Yeah, I mean,
orcs aren't supposed to be any particular people. They're the other, the thing that we.
They're like former elves, aren't they? In the Lord of the Rings,
corrupted
elves.
They're corrupted elves, yeah.
Right.
Alexander Cross for $5 says, figure you might enjoy the songs about the Knights of Crail, particularly Victorious Eagle Warfare on album 2. The Shadlings might like them too. All right. I'll try and keep that in mind. Thank you, Alexander, for the super chat. We appreciate it. Edaita1 for $5 says, Jengu, mermaids of African myth, all female, healing powers associated with girls' rights passage. If you want a black little mermaid, there you go. There you go. There's lots of resources you can go to historically that, because what you're saying, Metatron, about that movie about that African culture, it's like there's places you can check that out.
I'm happy to be like an advisor for that for Disney. Give me a fat check because I want money. Of course, I never worked for Disney. I hate Disney, but I'm just saying, if it were a situation, I'll do it. I'll give them the actual history so they can have their historically correct.
Oh, diversity. Dude, some of the writing is so bad. I'm like, Disney, you could hire me and let me get the script, and I can it's
so bad. Even the writers feel like they're sabotaging Disney themselves. Like it's like corporate sabotage.
Like the Acolyte. Holy crap!
I didn't watch it. I didn't watch it.
Dude, it's so bad.
Don't. It's save yourself, save the brain cells, bro.
Ruby Rabbit $5. I still want a Don Quixote historical fiction dry comedy. It would work.
Did you know that actually the real Don Quixote was Middle Eastern?
Strolling.
Kamen Rider, KFP. Akira Kurosawa made excellent adaptations of foreign works taking place in a Japanese setting. Throne of Blood and Ran are spectacular.
Run.
Have you seen any of those, Metatron?
Run. I watched Run. It's a classic for anyone who goes into Japanese old school cinema. It might be a little slow for some people's standards today, but the armor of the samurai and the warriors, it's fantastic. Still good.
Awesome. Hey, so we're going to jump onto another topic, but Metatron, I know you might be tight for time.
10 minutes. Yeah, I'll have 10 more minutes and then I'll go edit. Kind of dread doing it because I hate editing too late, but hey.
Dude, I know the feeling. Have you don't have an editor working with you yet?
I have 3 editors actually, plus my wife helps, but I've been posting 17 times a month. Dude. So I got to do some editing in house as well. Yeah.
That's the same with me. I mean, I have an editor, but I'm always doing at the very least, a post edit.
That's what I do too.
Images, reviewing it and stuff. And
then they jump cut, and then you add I choose the music because I'm the one who wants the background music. And every time I've tried to delegate, it doesn't work. It's just
Okay, gentlemen, it's time. It's time to talk about the Australian breakdancing.
Oh yeah,
the pride of Australia.
Tell me all about it.
No,
I'll just listen.
Your country look better and better.
I saw this exchange. Someone texted the dance to someone else, and that person's like, "What is this? Some sort of protester?" It really thought of a protester.
Okay.
Like, I thought it was brave of you guys to send a special needs person to.
So many memes.
So I don't know single thing about this, but she might be a really lovely lady. Okay, I don't want to attack her personally, but I do feel that we need to uphold some basic standards of quality, basic standards of merit, right?
You guys
sorry, what's
not break dance in Australia?
No, we do.
Nobody there does it?
there are questions. There are questions about how she qualified, and with no definitive answers yet. And
I have some guesses.
And so, nothing against her as an individual, but anyone who watches this, they're thinking, what's going on? This isn't
Shad, hold on a second.
Olympic level.
This woman knew she had absolutely zero skill set in breakdancing and went to represent your country on the world stage, and you hold nothing personally against her?
Yeah, he's avoiding ad hominem. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Mike, you did generate a bunch of delicious memes.
No,
I actually think she believes that she is worthy and good enough to be on the world stage. I think she does. No, you know why?
The world disagrees, though.
I think she has some type of university further education in.
Okay, but it's not just her, right? She had to get through a freaking.
Well, there are questions about that, and nothing definitive. I got a video or just a clip to share about it. But the Olympics have becoming a bit of a joke anyway, and so if you're wondering how people qualify, I've lost nearly all faith in Olympic standards in terms of their organization at this point in time. But yeah, anyone who watches this, unless you know what this is like to me, we'll show some clips. This really feels like the modern art equivalent of competition. Okay. All right. You know what I'm referring? Modern art, when people like vomit on a canvas and they sell it for millions of dollars. No joke. It happens. All right. When people are injecting meaning and value in something on a wholly different criteria than objective quality and skill. But do that.
There's a whole committee of people in your country who decided to let her represent.
It might not have been a whole committee. Like I said, there are questions about how she got in, that it might have been outsourced to a third-party group. We'll talk about it. Right?
Right.
But there are questions. Don't get me wrong. There are questions, right? And so I think what has been happening here is that people have been trying to value a different standard with this type of dance, that it's like, look how meaningful is the movements are. It's very culturally relevant, right? When it's not actually very talented in terms of more regular breakdancing ability. And so, because if you watch, right now, I'm going to pause regularly because I hear that the Olympic, whoever has the rights for the Olympic footage, are really draconian in hitting people with.
I love the 80s beat box behind.
Okay, so that one didn't seem too impressive. Like the on the head, I don't think I could do the on the head thing. Like people just, what is going on? What is this? What is what's happening?
Having a
this one is like, hang on, my 2-year-old.
This is representing Australia here. She's doing the kangaroo hop.
This is what I mean. It's just like, I think what they're like, the people who are pretending to be really cultured and appreciate, deeper meaning, is like, look at the cultural significance that she is representing the Australian iconic animals.
The Australian League of Why-Nots.
Can't you see? She's incorporating the kangaroo hop in a breakdancing thing. It's artistic. It's amazing. You're going to the Olympics.
I appreciate all the Jurassic Park memes that came from this dance.
But that's what I think the mentality is. And I genuinely think that's what her intention was, to add cultural movements and stuff. And
she's literally doing this dance. Show my screen really quick. If you've seen this movie, you'll know what it's from.
No, I don't think I've seen it. What's this? That's why I'm not going to get pinged, are we, Mike?
You won't. This is from 1975.
I only show a couple of seconds.
Oh, all right.
Do you want to get it to the right spot?
Oh, I see.
Literally what she's doing.
All right, pause.
Careful with the music.
Yeah, the music can get us caught.
It's like literally what she was doing.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Good spot.
Oh my gosh! And
it's probably why she got dinged as a protester or something, because it's interpretive dance. It's supposed to be breakdancing, interpretive dancing.
Is this Michael or Michelle? I always
Michael.
I've never seen Australia represented on the international stage in breaking, but every modern day breaker is of a higher standard. The dance has evolved, but even B girls from the 90s were better. Yes. This is why so many people are just thinking, what's going on here? How is this in the Olympics? And I can't fault them for it. Look, she might be a nice person, but here we go. Like, people have taken other photos of that right there and memed on it so much. There's another angle. It's like, what is going on?
Oh no.
Oh gosh. And this really feels like the participation award person got to go to the Olympics. It feels like she's done this in other, competitions, and people were just like, you tried. Yeah, it's great. It's really
it kind of reminds me of Roseanne Barr singing the Star Spangled
We are all
Banner.
special.
Yeah.
Like, no. And this, it's just like, what's going on? She's a snake there, by the way. And look, that was like the only breaking thing that, like, a few things. They jump on the head, don't they? There's a breakdancing kind of move. Yeah. And now I don't know what's happening here.
Let's mop the floor.
Epilepsy. It's epilepsy.
What is going on?
It's like you broke your controller.
Drunken Christmas party kind of dancing.
It's break of your controller dancing.
Oh no! Look, as an Australian, I disown it. I have to disown
I'm sorry, Chad, but this is your country.
Okay, so Zyfex says this isn't a potential word as worse. She and her husband share the committee that got to pick who went. That is the rumor. There's a community note saying that they weren't on the committee, so I don't know now. But there is a rumor of that we will mention. Thank you for the super chat to point that out. And yeah, that is something we'll be covering. And so,
first you outlaw your guns, now this is what happens.
This is painful. Oh my gosh. Oh God, this is, as an Australian, this is embarrassing. But we did win a good number of awards, like gold in other track and field things. But do you want to guess what score? Do you want to guess what score she got?
What score did she get?
0.
I think she got 0.
Zero score. Well, it was so bad. It just eliminated the entire event from future Olympics. So it must have been pretty bad.
Well, I've heard that each country gets to, like, if the host country gets to select like either a sport or multiple sports, and France selected breakdancing, and it's not that this was so bad it got kicked out. It's just that the next host country doesn't want to. It's just, and that was already determined before this even happened. That breakdancing is like, that's what I've heard, and I could be wrong. I'm just trying to, there are
the next country's us. The next country's us, the one with the guns, and we're not going to allow that. No, we'll just uproar.
I found her the practice video that she put up online.
Really?
Oh, did you? Well, I think I'm gonna leave on a high note with the oh my gosh.
That's a protester. That's a protester dance.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike. Lads, I think I'm gonna have to go and do that edit, but really appreciate. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah,
Raph, it's been heaps of fun. You're more than welcome back anytime, mate.
Thank you. Thank you.
Pleasure to have you.
It was good to talk to you all, and goodbye to the chat.
Yeah,
I hope I didn't talk too much.
No, dude, we loved your input. You can talk as much as you like.
Appreciate. Well, goodbye.
All right. Catch you, mate.
See you. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Oh boy.
I think probably that was historical in the sense of it was the only time anyone's ever gotten a 0 at the Olympics.
I'm sure it's happened before, but
it's really funny event of like the woke being coddled. They're being coddled because you're a protected class, and then you have to go to like these judges who don't care and are just there to judge how good you do, and kind of meeting a crash land or crashing in the face of reality. Like over there back home, everyone's like, "Oh, you're great, you're fantastic. That's what a genius thing." Then over here, and the judges who are there to judge breakdancing, it's like, well, that was terrible. You get a 0. You're awarded no points.
well, this is what Olympic level breakdancing should actually look like, right? Like,
that's
look
it.
At this is insane. This is like
that was like 90s and stuff like that. Just spinning on their head,
like spinning on their head. Like look at him go! It's like and then keeps going.
It's like nonstop.
That is like gymnastics level performance, right? That is like amazing. Like look at that. Right? That's what breakdancing.
They're real breakdancing. They do some insane stuff. Like they'll hold like poses that look like they're defying gravity. Like it's insane.
Absolutely amazing. And that's like Olympics should be a celebration of human excellence and merit, okay, and performance. That's what it should be. It's really fallen from grace in a lot of ways.
That was the idea.
I mean, that opening ceremony crap was like, all right, I don't give a crap about this Olympics. They can get stuffed with the crap they were
I just saw a video recently. They used to have like poetry and singing and other like actual creative arts in the Olympics, and they were judged by like they'd have it up at a place where people can go and judge it, but it's not like
okay, that's interesting. So here's some further discussion. Now, there's a community note here that I want people to bear in mind. That is, neither Rachel Gunn or her husband are founders of the Australian Breaking Association, founded by Lo Nepalan. They are not involved in the ABA leadership in any capacity. So I want to read through this tweet and see what they mentioned, because there's other things that they mentioned I think is worth. So the story of how the Australian women's breakdancer Rachel Ray Gunn, who scored a literal 0 in the Olympics, is fascinating. How did she get there? Too long didn't read. The Olympics outsourced the breakdancing qualifications to a third party called World Dance Sport Federation, who didn't know anything about breakdancing. That part might actually be true. Okay. That the qualifications was outsourced to a group that doesn't even know about it. They wanted to do ballroom dancing. The Olympics said no to ballroom, so World Dance said fine, we'll oversee breakdancing instead. Take this with a grain of salt. I haven't confirmed any of this, so it's just an interesting, if it's true, makes you wonder, right? World Dance didn't know anything about breakdancing, so they outsourced to other smaller organizations local to the country. In the case of Australia, the organization called Australian Breakdancing Association was founded by, that's where they say they claim.
Breaking Association. That's where they missed. They were supposed to go to break dancing.
Yeah.
Went to breaking.
Wow, someone's mic just died. And Mike, was it your mic that died?
Test.
So there's some weird static going on in the background. Maybe that was touching. It's better now. So yeah. I think it was you, Mike, because Lit Dev was muted at the time. So, but it stopped, so we can just leave it there. But I think sorry, unmute yourself. So there are questions about how she got on, and one of them is that it might have been outsourced to just an organization that has no idea about any of this, or an organization that values, she's a woman, and she's like what she did was really impressive from an interpretive cultural thing.
Stunning and brave.
It's so stunning and brave, right? That's why they got it. But some of the responses has been pretty funny. I don't think I have the one up from one of the Australian Olympic Committee people tried to defend her, and basically one of the takeaways is that they kind of just calling everyone who is criticizing a sexist, and it's like no, this isn't about criticizing. It's about objective quality, and that That's what they're criticizing, not because she's a woman. It's not what people are saying. Oh my gosh. I think I've got another thing. Where is it? I thought I had it pulled up. Oh no, that's a different one. But this is, let's look at this one. This is a comment from Lauren Chan, who I think has mentioned. She says, how do you feel about breakdancing in the Olympics? It definitely takes athleticism and skill, but then again, so do ballet and other forms of dance, but none of those are in the Olympics. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Like, does it make sense that breakdancing is in the Olympics?
I don't know if breakdancing is so ubiquitous that every country would have a decent enough chance of having people practicing breakdancing. So I don't know. It's not whatever it is. It should be ubiquitous, I think.
As we saw, like real breakdancing requires like insane levels of athleticism. So I could see the argument for breakdancing to be an Olympic sport.
If it's done, if it's held to the right standards, right? Because she goes on to say, and this is true, like people have also pointed out similarities between breakdancing and floor routines in gymnastics. And because, some of the gymnastic routines, they start to do these kind of windmill things. That's very reminiscent of what we see in breakdancing. And so in that sense, actually, I kind of see a point. And is this really less of a sport than, say, shooting or horseback riding, which are also in the Olympics? Good points. It's like, I'm kind of
everybody on Earth shoots.
Not everyone on Earth, unfortunately, Mike.
Oh, that's right. Not us.
Well, those of us with guns, yeah.
Yeah. Rub it in my face, why don't you? Jerk. Though, actually, look, I can get a gun license. It's just very...
take your first child.
There's a lot of bureaucration involved.
You got to go through a labyrinth. You got to meet David Bowie. You got to sing the songs.
Well, yeah, right. You basically need a legal, valid reason to have it. And because I own a large property, that actually gives me legal reason to get rid of the pests on the property, like rabbits and things. And so that can give me allowance to apply for the license and own some guns, and I'm tempted.
I don't know. I think breakdancing, it was so niche. I mean, it was pretty niche. It was pretty popular in the 80s, and then it's become this niche thing, and it's so niche. I just don't know how many countries actually have populations that practice breakdancing.
Mike, your mic is doing the weird thing again. Is it because your thing is touching the mic? Is your thing touching it? Yeah.
Is it better if I do that?
That's so far. Yeah. It also might be a weird noise canceling thing. But we Jack Poopong Plop for $5 says, was the breakdance an example of legendary Australian banter or a sign that Australia is now the Canada of the Southern Hemisphere? I don't know. Whatever it is, it's not. It's not
new Canada.
Not good. Some of our countries are just in a race for being the. What we can hear. Hopefully, so far so good, Mike. So far so good.
Reboot.
Like, which is going to be the most crappy authoritarian country robbing the people of their rights? Australia, Canada, or UK at the moment? It's bloody outrageous.
UK's doing a really good job at that, though. I think they're ahead.
The UK, yeah, I think UK is winning.
They're way ahead.
Yeah, they're trying to come arrest Americans for free speech violations.
We jock Poopong McPlop. Ballet is 100% more worthy of the Olympics.
I think so too.
I can
because it's like
ballet
requires ballets everywhere.
So much. There's so much stuff that goes into being a good ballerina.
This is true. And there is a good cultural heritage with ballet. It's a classic European, such French kind of origin.
But they do ballet in Asia. They do ballet.
They do it all over the world, and it is very, very athletic as well. Romeo for $2. America's right again. The Second Amendment, USA. Well, yes, right.
You got the rights.
Well, hey, I've been doing more research on this because we don't get taught about this in Australian schools as to what rights are enshrined in Australian law, because we do have a constitution, but we don't have an official. Yeah, it's the Australian Constitution, but in it, it does not outline a detail of rights. Well, it does. This is the thing. There are like 5 explicit rights it mentions, and then other explicit and then other implicit rights. And the Constitution does get referred back to protect people's rights. But then we have another thing, which is actually of equal validity in Australian law for protecting people's rights, and it's the principles of common law. And so if a court case has been ruled on by the High Court and it said this is unjust or someone should have a right to speak in this way and not be censored, that becomes precedent and common law in Australia. And that court case in the High Court can be referred back to as a means to protect people's rights because the court has already ruled on those things.
Does your Constitution say where your rights derive from?
No, I don't think it does. Because one of the concerns is that Parliament does have the means to curtail some of those legal interpretations that have happened, but it's very difficult for them to do. It is very difficult for Parliament to do, and they have to use it in very clear data.
Is telling our government what it can't do.
Yes.
As opposed to many constitutions that tell the government like what they can do, essentially.
Well, the common law and the Australian Constitution does limit the government, and even though I said that they have the means to overrule some of the rights that are established under the common law, it's very difficult to do, and they have to do it with very clear language. And here's one of the things. One of the things in the common law that is established in Australian law is that Parliament will not change or take away people's rights. And that's in there as well. And so they would need to challenge that. And you could take, and you can take the government to court or anything to challenge them if they infringe your rights based on it. And it's so much so that's really fascinating that there are legal scholars in Australia that says we should be calling what Australia has the Common Law Bill of Rights. And according to the common law, there are several rights that have been enshrined in Australian law through legal precedent, and free speech is involved in it. Free speech is there, and all the things. But it's interesting. And I've been doing research. I've been going down rabbit holes recently because I want to know what are my rights. And one of the depressing things that I have found is that there are more conditions that limit free speech in Australia, even under the free speech right that is given under common law. But what's interesting, because of the nature of how it works, that is based on how parliamentary precedent, one of the supposed limitations hasn't gone through the court and could still be challenged and say this actually is in breach of the Constitution and common law precedent. And so,
remind me, wasn't a woman arrested for posting something like on Facebook against the lockdowns?
So this is the interesting thing. She was trying to organize a protest during the lockdowns, and that was considered a type of incitement or rebellion against government standards, which was the laws that the Victorian government was put forward, right? I think she could actually challenge and sue the government for breaching her rights under common law that is actually there, that we're not taught of in Australian schools. We actually do have pretty strong protections in the law, but it's not defined as the Constitution or a Bill of Rights, which is why it gets muddied, and and not many Australians know of it. But people have challenged state governments and appealed to the High Court, and the High Court has upheld their rights. And because this is the thing, right? A lot of free speech in America, it's enshrined in the Constitution, but Google and YouTube are censoring people quite regularly. Right? Just because you have it in the law doesn't mean that either state governments, governors, or local law enforcement, everything. This doesn't mean that they might try and censor you or restrict your freedoms. There's cases where they will
censorship by a private company. That's them running their business. Now we can argue about the Google being a monopoly and Google should be a platform rather than a publisher and all those kind of 320 laws and all that stuff. And obviously I'd be on the side of free speech, but that's not technically censorship because it's not coming from the government.
The thing is, I think the argument is that them being a town square and such a large platform is that
that is the argument, and I would agree with you, but it's not the government arresting you because you said something on Facebook.
I know that goes to another level. And that's insane. And I think that can technically happen in Australia as well, because some of the limitations on free speech is anything that because it's based on old law. Australia is an English colony, okay? And so some of the founding lawful documents that we still actually refer back to, it's like the Magna Carta and the UK, the English Bill of Rights. Sorry, there's an English Bill of Rights. What am I? There's an old school one. No. There's another one that goes back, but because it's like old school stuff, there are limitations on like incitement and rebellion and stuff and speaking out against the government. And so it's not a
That's funny because our rights say that we can overthrow the government if it gets out of hand.
But the thing is, even the conditions that try to limit speech in Australia that might be considered a type of incitement, right? That can still be defended based on another thing in the law. So there is a law that protects political speech. And part of protecting political speech is actually offending people. And that sometimes it is necessary to offend people when using political speech.
Yeah, you don't have to defend inoffensive speech.
Exactly. Well, this because one of the there are like I told you I'm going down a rabbit hole, and Buddy Rabbit says going down what holes? Not that type of, but it's an expression, Buddy Rabbit.
Your holes are
it's
safe,
something
buddy.
that. It's something that I am starting to do more research on, and I think I'm going to do a dedicated video on Night's Watch about this, because Australians don't actually know that they can appeal to actual established and protected rights, that we have essentially a common law Bill of Rights, and also to what level of free speech is protected in Australia, because we do have principles of literally free speech, freedom of expression, that's written in Australian common law and being defended in the High Court. And so it's not like the whole thing that Australia doesn't have free speech. That's actually false, but we do have more limitations on that, because even America has limitations on free speech, like fire in a theater and liable, defamation, and all those conditions are also limits are in the Australian limitations of free speech, which is like incitement to violence, right? If you are actually inciting violence, those are all actionable and
right. But that lady was inciting a peaceful protest, right? Not yeah. So,
but I think she could
peaceful protest.
Well, I think she could actually be protected under the Australian law, like deeper law, which is the common law that's been upheld by the High Court here in Australia. And because I get pissed off, like state governments, they just think they have too much power, because state governments will have different laws and draconian laws as well, especially in Victoria about weapon laws and things like that. But the actual standard that has been upheld in the High Court of Australia is that no state law can supersede the Australian Constitution or established common law. And if there is a precedent in common law that has given you a protection that a state law is trying to limit or curtail, you can challenge that, absolutely, and be protected by certain rights in Australia. And that's encouraging. So there is more rights protection in Australia than people kind of realize, but we just don't know. Not enough people know about it, and it's frustrating. Karnak Ketchel for $5 says, never got that Valkyrie Profile 2 Silmeria Fantasy Armor review I'd asked about way back during the days of the old stream. Just a little reminder. I'm glad you reminded me of that, because I completely forgot about it. Alexander Cross, Australians can box a kangaroo to become the king.
That's my favorite right in the Bill of Rights in Australia.
Yeah, at the moment, I don't know it. Buddy, I don't know that I trust a citizen of a prison island about the security of my holes. Like, oh, you should protect your holes. It is interesting though, because Australia being a English colony, we have English law ingrained as the foundational principles of what we have. And I think it's actually good that Australia has not become an independent republic, because becoming an independent republic would mean that some of the protections we have that are ingrained from English common law that was happened because we're, still part of the Commonwealth can't be taken away. And even if the government wanted to try and challenge them, because we have that common law principle and the Constitution,
you get some particular benefit by staying.
Well, this is one of them. This is one of them, I think. I think because well,
I mean,
we are under the crown.
You'd start your own.
I do not trust. I do not trust the current governments and people in political power to make a better Bill of Rights and Constitution than what we currently have. And so
you could copy ours if you want.
Well, I would hope we would, but you reckon we would get the Second Amendment if Australia became a republic? I don't think so. Wee Jack Poopong McFlop says, Shad, want you to know I'm from Carrick in Ireland. I spent my life next to the oldest Norman castle in Ireland. Carrick Castle. I know that one. America tourists drive us mad. We need an Aussie to show up and let us know tourists aren't that bad. If I ever could, that would be great. I'd love to rock up and check out Ireland. But we're starting to wrap up now, guys. I've been pretty active to try and keep on top of all the super chats, so I do believe we've caught them all. And I don't know how much people are finding interesting the talk of Australian law, but I've been diving into it. It has been fascinating, and I am going to do a video on, I think, the Common Law Bill of Rights, so Australians know more about what our rights are and what freedom of speech we have in Australia. Because
most of the audience stuck around for it.
Oh, sweet.
I'm pretty sure that the Australian government, wait, this guy's talking about the law? They're not supposed to know about the law.
That's
the law. They can challenge it.
That's why I think it's not taught in school so explicitly.
Sure why, yeah.
Shad's about to get swatted.
Oh, right. Like the thing
is, YouTuber Shadiversity arrested.
The state set the curriculum in public schools that a lot of the private schools also have to follow. Why was I never taught, right, the rights I have as an Australian under Australian law in clear terms? And there's essays on it. They literally call it the Common Law Bill of Rights, which is not an official Bill of Rights, but they are rights that are that they're now basically established and enshrined in Australian law based on common law precedent of the past. And there's a list of them, and they're surprisingly similar. They're surprisingly similar to certain ones that you guys might be familiar with. And look, we're on the topic. I'm not sure if you guys, audience finds it interesting. I find it interesting. I think it's important to kind of share and cover.
What if America just came down to Australia, planted our flag, and said and claimed you as the 51st state? What would England do?
Extradite everyone who did that.
They would very likely object quite strongly. So yeah, it's interesting. Technically, Australia is still solidly under the authority of the Crown. And the representative of the Crown that we have here is the Governor General, I think it is. Did my mind just fart? But I think it's the Governor General. And he can fire the Prime Minister. He has that level of authority, and it's actually been done in the past.
So he's the guy we need to take out?
Well,
when we invade, we just take that guy out.
Maybe, yeah. Take out that Governor General.
Claim Australia.
Okay, so this here is one of the really interesting articles. The Principle of Legality in Australia, Common Law Bill of Rights. Okay,
we're not
going to read that.
Take longer than 6 minutes to read.
We're not reading it. What I'm going to go down to are the freedoms and rights that actually we get from this, which is it's a list. And so under common law, these rights are actually already upheld by the High Court in Australia. And so these commonly include that Parliament did not intend to or can't invade fundamental rights, freedoms, and immunities. So Parliament can't take away rights already established. They can't retrospectively change rights and obligations. This is like really significant, important stuff. They can't infringe personal liberty. They can't interfere with freedom of movement. I want to research this more. I want to research that one more because
2020.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
I don't live down there, but I heard a lot of stuff about the freedom of movement being infringed.
Right?
Some politicians need to go to jail. So it sounds like.
So what this will, so see how this has like a number. So 43, this will refer to an actual law case that happened. So this is Commonwealth versus Progress Advertising and Press. So this is the actual court case that established that Australians have that the Parliament cannot interfere with freedom of movement. I'm like,
how much oil does Australia have?
Right. This is why it's important for us to know, because I want to know to what level we have rights. And look at this: the Parliament cannot interfere with freedom of speech. And then they can't alter criminal law practices based on a principle of a fair trial. They can't restrict access to courts, can't permit an appeal to an acquittal. They can't interfere with the courts of justice. They can't abrogate legal professional privilege. They can't exclude the right to claim self-incrimination. And so there's these all there. And then these are the ones that are really clear. And this one's important for me. They cannot interfere with equality of religion. But that one is in our constitution as an explicit right. And
what is the equality of religion?
Basically the equal practice of religion. Now you can't say someone, one religion gets suppressed, another religion and stuff like that. It's freedom of religion, essentially.
Freedom of religion. It's just an equality. That sounds weird.
Yeah, yeah.
Weird.
So, and look at this. They can't alter common law doctrines. And I'm like, this is interesting. They're like I said, state governments try to ignore a lot of this stuff and impose whatever laws they friggin' well want, which pisses me off, right? But when people challenge it and it actually gets taken to the High Court has no other recourse but to look towards the Constitution and establish common law, which supersedes anything else.
All right, can I put a pause on you? I got to start my show in about 3 minutes, and I need to.
Yeah. Look, we need to wrap it up. I find this all really interesting. I'm going to do more videos on it, but let's wrap up. Mike, tell us where you're from, what you're doing.
I'm on Blacklist Universe. I just posted in the chat that I'm going to be doing my art drawing show. We're doing Snow White and the Seven Warriors tonight, and we're going to make up a whole story about that. So join us after this, if you would. That should start in 2 minutes, but I feel like I'm going to be late.
Right. Lit Dev, thanks for joining us, mate.
No problem. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, pleasure. Anything you want to tell people where you're from, what you're doing?
Usually just I'm on Literature Devil on YouTube. Go over all this narrative nonsense. I go over all the in-depth construction of story, exactly why you dislike characters like Rey and Captain Marvel. It's so that when they tell you that you're sexist for not liking him, no, you'll have the actual answer. They're actually terribly written characters.
Togramus, the Iceman, says this: Parliament set laws, courts interpret. If a Parliament overrides the underlying law, the common law is removed as long as the language is different from a common law ruling. So I've looked into that, and if they want to try and override any common law that removes a right specifically, it is very difficult for them to do. It has to be in very clear language, and one of the things that they need to then be face is that it's already written in common law that they can't actually do that, which is the crazy thing. Because look at right here, under common law, like they can't alter common law doctrine. So I know they try and do it, but it can be challenged. But we've got to go. Mike's got to go. So thanks everyone for joining us. This is a banger stream. Loved it. See you all later. As always, stay on watch.
Peace.
Farewell.